Good day everyone, I am Wela Maycedo, and in this video I will going to tackle the life of Rizal in chapter 4, which is the higher education and life abroad. So in this chapter, we will going to know about Dr. Jose Rizal in relation to his higher education in the Philippines, especially his time at the Ateneo de Municipal, University of Santo Tomas, and his education abroad. On June 1872, Jose was sent to Manila to study at the Ateneo de Municipal when he was 11 years old, 4 months after the martyrdom of Gomborza and while his mother was still in prison. So in his first day in Manila, he was accompanied by his brother Pasiano. So Pasiano is the oldest brother of Rizal. So ang ka-level ng Ateneo noon ay ang College of San Juan de Letran, was the first choice of Don Francisco, kaya lang nagbago ang desisyon at sa Ateneo na pinag-aaral si Rizal. At muntikan nang hindi makapasok si Rizal sa Ateneo because of two reasons. So first, he was already late for registration. Second, he was sickly and too small for his age. That was according to Father Magin Ferrando, the college registrar of Ateneo. However, Jose was admitted because of Manuel Burgos, nephew of Father Burgos. So si Father Burgos is one of the priest that was executed the garrote at Bagong Bayan on February 17, 1872. So Ateneo was the former Escuela Pia or the charity school in Manila under the supervision of Jesuit. It was the time that Jose used the surname Rizal because the family name Mercado was under suspicions of among authority. So the educational system of Jesuit was to encourage competition among students. According to history, the style of education practiced by the Jesuits leave an emphasis in rigid discipline, character building, and religious instruction. So the class were divided into two, which is the internos and externos. So internos is the Roman Empire, which the student who board within Ateneo, and externos is the Carthaginian, is those students or those non-border students in Ateneo. So each of these empire had its rank students. So the top one is what they called emperor, top 2 tribune, top 3 decurion, and top 4 centurion, and the top 5 is standard bearer. So in his first year in Ateneo, Father Jose Beck was the first professor of Rizal. Rizal was an externo or Carthaginian because he boarded outside the campus. So as a newcomer, Jose was placed at the back of the class, but he was quickly promoted and continued to be promoted until at the end of 1 month, he had attained the rank of emperor. So like what I said earlier, that Jesuit system education was encouraged competition. So ang bawat rank na iyon ay pinag-aagawan ng mga estudyante. Rizal took private lessons in Santa Isabel College to improve his knowledge and fluency, despite being brightest student. So at the end of the semester, he received excellent grades in all subjects and examination. So during his summer vacation in 1873, Rizal's mother was imprisoned. So the reason why Rizal's mother imprisoned, it is because of her sister-in-law na pinagbibintangan ang nanay ni Rizal na si Doña Teodora na may balak daw lasunin ang kanyang sister-in-law, which is not true. So in his second year in Ateneo, he obtained a medal. Upon returning to his town, binisita niya uli ang kanyang ina sa bilangguan. 3 buwan bago makalaya ang kanyang ina. So the joy that her release caused in his spirit had a significant impact on the outcome of his studies in 3rd year. So as he began to win prizes in the quarterly examination. So Rizal's teenage interest was reading. So the first favorite novel of Rizal was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, and the wrong suffered by the prisoner of the Chitao Deep recalled the injustice done his mother. Then came the book which had greatest influence upon the young man's career. This was a Spanish translation of Fyodor Hagor, a German scientist traveler who visited in the Philippines on 1859 to 1860. So he was impressed by Hagor's keen observation of the defect of Spanish colonization and his prophecy that someday Spain should lose the Philippines and that America would come to succeed her as a colonizer. So during on the fourth year of Rizal in Ateneo, that was on 1876 to 1877, Father Francisco de Paula Sanchez, one of his professors, inspired him to study harder and write poetry. So it is one of Rizal's best professor in Ateneo. So under the guidance of Father Sanchez, Rizal was the top one in class. So tuwang-tuwa si Rizal sa panahong ito dahil may maipapakita na siya sa kanyang mga magulang. According to him, he was able to repaid his parent for the sacrifices and for allowing him to study in Manila. So on March 23, 1877, Rizal was received from his alma mater Ateneo Municipal the degree of Bachelor of Arts with highest honors. So he was only 16 years old at that time. So before, after you graduate in high school, magkakaroon ka na ng degree. Magkaiba kasi noon sa ngayon dahil ang bachelor nila noon ay katumbas na ng diploma sa ngayon. So aside from Rizal's academic, he also do extracurricular activities. He was an active member of latter Secretary of Marian Congregation, a religious society. So he is also a member of the Academy of Spanish Literature and Academy of Natural Sciences. So he studied painting and drawing under the guidance and direction of the Ateneo professor, the Peninsula, Don Agustin Saiz, so who honored Rizal with his affection and consideration because of his progress in sculpture. So ang guro ni Rizal sa panahong ito ay isang Filipino rin. Siya si Romualdo de Jesus, who felt proud in the last years of his life of having had such an excellent pupil. So the sculpture works of Rizal in Ateneo was the imagined image of Virgin Mary and the Sacred Heart. Isa sa mga pari ang nag-request kay Rizal to carve an image of Sacred Heart. And Rizal complied and produced to carving that played so much important part in his future life. So the literary works of Rizal in Ateneo was Mi Primera Inspiración. In English, My First Inspiration. So it was the first written poem of Rizal, which was dedicated to his mother on her birthday. Here at when he was 14 years old. Sobrang tuwa ang nararamdaman ni Rizal sa panahong ito dahil nakalaya na ang kanyang ina. And the second poem was entitled In My Town. This poem are dedicated of Rizal's to his town, which is Calamba, Laguna. So Rizal also wrote a poem about education. So first was Through Education Our Motherland Receives Light. So Rizal expressed his ideas on the value of education in this poem. He strongly believed on the important role of education for the development and progress of a nation. And the second one was the intimate alliance between religion and good education. So this poem showed that education without God is not true education. So dito rin natin makikita ang kahalagahan ng relihiyon sa edukasyon. And the last poem written by Rizal in Ateneo was the Farewell Dialogue. It dedicated to his teachers, friends, classmates in Ateneo when he was studying there. And also, Rizal wrote a poem, a religious poem. First is To the Child Jesus, written when he was 14 years old and expressing his Catholic faith devotion. And also, To the Virgin Mary. And Segunda Katigbak was the first romance of Rizal, a pretty 14-year-old Batangueña from Lipa. After Rizal completed his education at the Ateneo, his mother wanted him to return home and look after the family business. According to Dunya Teodora, marami na raw alam si Rizal kaya hindi na niya kailangan pang mag-aral. Kaya pinapauwi na niya si Rizal upang siya na ang mag-manage ng kanilang mga negosyo. Bukod doon ay may iba pa palang dahilan si Doña Teodora kaya niya pinapauwi si Rizal dahil natatakot siya sa kapakanan at kaligtasan ng anak dahil ayaw niyang mangyari kay Rizal ang nangyari sa mga intelektual na mga Filipino during 1872 katulad na lamang noong nangyari sa Gomborza. So, during this time, kapag ang isang tao ay maraming alam o mataas ang pinag-aralan, isa ito sa mga traits sa mga Espanyol. So because they scared dahil baka sa kaalaman ng isang tao ay magkakaroon ng revolusyon. So Don Francisco and Pasiano were able to prevail over Doña Teodora objections. So that is why Rizal was continued studying at UST. So Rizal enrolled on April 1877 when he was nearly 16 years old, studied philosophy and letters. So he enrolled philosophy for two reasons. First, his father liked it, and the second one, he was still unsure of what career to pursue. But he wrote to Father Pablo Ramon, the rector of Ateneo, who had been kind to him during his time as a student there, seeking advice on a career choice. Unfortunately, the father rector was in Mindanao. That is why he studied cosmology, metaphysics, theodicy, and philosophy, history during his first year at UST. So in the following year, he shifted studying medicine for two reasons. First, is he decided to be a physician in order to cure his mother's failing eyesight. And the second one is Father Pablo Ramon wrote back advising Jose to take up medicine. So during this time, he met Leonor Valenzuela, the girl who lived next door to Doña Concha. Siya yung babaeng sinulatan ni Rizal ng love letter in invisible ink. So Rizal's next relationship was with Leonor Rivera, his cousin from Camiling, the daughter of Antonio Rivera. It was the uncle of Rizal. Leonor Rivera is ang pinakamatagal na nakarelasyon ni Rizal na umabot ng 11 years. So, it was the time that Rizal encountered the brutality of Spanish. So, it was happened during the summer of 1878 while he was a first year at UST. So, this happened because Rizal's forget o hindi napansin ni Rizal ang Spanish lieutenant. Sa panahong ito kasi tradisyon ng mga citizen na pag may nakasalubong silang Guardia Civil ay kailangan nilang bumati o magsalute. Dahil doon binugbog ng Guardia Civil si Rizal dahil Rizal failed to notice na dumaan sa kanyang harapan ang Guardia Civil and he reported the incident to General Primo de Rivera, but nothing happened. So when Rizal studied in Ateneo, he was write many literary works at meron din siyang naisulat sa UST. So mayroong contest sa paaralan noon at pinamalas ni Rizal ang kanyang kagalingan sa pagsusulat at isa sa kanyang winning masterpiece ay ang To the Filipino Youth. Dito rin nabanggit ni Rizal ang katagana, ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. At sumunod, nagkaroon na naman ng panibagong contest sa UST at ito ay gunitain ang death anniversary of Miguel Cervantes. So the literary piece that he wrote was The Council of the Gods. Dito napatunayan ni Rizal na hindi lamang ang Espanyol ang magaling gumawa ng tula. So napanalo na naman ni Rizal ang contest na ito at nakakuha siya ng prize, gold ring engraved with a bust of Cervantes. This time, let's move on to Rizal's first travel abroad in 1882 to 1883. So, hindi lang ang pag-aaral ang pakay ni Rizal in abroad, but he also intended to observe the life, culture, traditions, and government and laws of European nations in order to prepare himself for his desire to liberate the Filipino people from the Spanish tyranny. So, in his journey to Spain on May 3, Rizal boarded the Spanish steamer Salvadora bound for Singapore. So ang tawag sa barkong sinakyan ni Rizal noon ay Salvadora. At sa barkong ito, si Rizal lamang ang nag-iisang Filipino passenger and the rest were Spaniard, British, and Indian Negros. So dahil si Rizal lamang ang nag-iisang Filipino passenger doon, kailangan niya maki-interact sa mga kasamahan niya. Kaya naging kaibigan niya ang mga kasamahan niya at pati na rin ang kapitan ng barko. So on May 11, 1882, Rizal boarded to Jimna, a French steamer bound to Europe. So ang sumunod na sinakyan ni Rizal ay ang barkong Jimna, patungong Europe. Dito nag-improve ang speaking skills ni Rizal sa wikang Frances. Dahil kadalasan ang ginagamit na wika sa loob ng barkong ay French. On May 17, 1882, Jemna reached Point Gale. So Rizal noted Point Gale seacoast town which is picturesque but lonely, quiet, and sad. So on May 18, 1882, dumaong ang barko sa Colombo. So Jimna continued to voyage crossing the Indian Ocean to Cape of Guardiaful. June 12, 1880, the ship proceeded to Marseilles and arrived at the French harbor where Rizal visited the famous Chitao. On June 16, 1882, Rizal arrived in Barcelona. So, in this place, Rizal wrote a nationalistic essay entitled Love of a Country. Dito na ginamit ni Rizal ang kanyang pin name na Laong Laan. On November 3, 1882, Rizal left Barcelona and he enrolled at the Central University of Madrid or Universidad Central de Madrid for licentiate in medicine, philosophy, and letters. So ito yung course na kinuha ni Rizal nung nag-aaral pa siya sa UST. So si Rizal yung tipong estudyante na namamanage niya ang oras niya kaya he can do his extracurricular activities even he studied more than one course. So dahil gusto niya na marami siyang matutunan within the short period of time. So he took up lessons in painting and sculpture at the San Fernando Academy of Fine Arts. He took private lesson in French, German, and English. So during his free time, he practiced fencing and shooting at San Fernando Hall of Arms. So ang focus talaga ni Rizal in abroad was to study. Matipid siya sa pera as well as sa time niya. Hindi siya gumagawa ng mga bagay na wala lang dahil gusto niya na may matutunan siya sa lahat ng gagawin at paggagastahan niya. On June 21, 1884, Rizal finished his study in medicine pero hindi niya nakuha ang kanyang diploma dahil hindi siya nakapag-submit ng kanyang thesis as a requirements for graduation at hindi siya nakabayad for the corresponding fees. At natapos niya ang pag-aaral niya sa Philosophy and Letters with honors on June 19, 1885. So, Consuelo Ortiga E. Perez is one of the many women of Dr. Jose Rizal. Pero hindi natuloy ang panliligaw ni Rizal dahil may gusto ang kaibigan niya na si Eduardo Dilete, kaya gumawa na lang siya ng tula para kay Consuelo. So on March 1883, he became a member of the Acacia Masonic Lodge in Madrid with the Masonic name Di Masalang. So noon kasi, sa panahon ni Rizal, uso ang code name. Kaya, ginamit niya ang Di Masalang sa pagpasok niya sa Masonic o Masonry para sa kanyang safety at para hindi siya makilala ng mga Kastila. So, his motivation for joining is to gain an assistance for Freemasonry, and Rizal was impressed by how openly and freely the Spanish Mason citizen and government policies and lambasted friars. That is why Rizal was one of the Mason. Masons is a member of a fraternity. So ito yung tawag sa isang tao na membro sa isang fraternity. So on November 15, 1890, he was transferred to Lodge Solidaridad and became a Master Mason. So in Paris, he was awarded the diploma of Master Mason by Le Grand Orient de France. So propaganda movement aimed to first, awaken the sleeping intellect of the Spaniard to the needs of our country. Second, to create a closer, more equal association between the islands and the motherland. So Jose was the most outstanding propagandist. He is a physician, scholar, scientist, and writer. He was a leader and eloquent spokesman among small community of Filipino students in Madrid. So Rizal's greatest contribution to the Filipino consciousness was the publication of two novels, which is The No Limitang Here, Touch Me Not, in 1886 and El Filibusterismo, The Reign of Greed in 1891. So Graciano Lopez Haina, noted orator and pamphleteer who had left the island for Spain in 1880. He published Fray Butod, Brother Fatso. In 1889, he launched La Solidaridad. So Marcelo del Pilar, a lawyer who advocates for social change, he was active in the anti-friar movement and the editor of La Solidaridad. In Madrid, Rizal joined Círculo Hispano-Filipino or Hispano-Philippine Circle in 1882. It was an organization, a society of Spaniards and Filipinos. Dahil dito, nagsulat si Rizal ng isang tula dahil ni-request ng kasama niya sa organisasyong ito na ang pamagat ay They Ask Me for Verses. Ito ay ang kanyang talumpati noong New Year's Eve in Madrid. Sa tulang ito niya ipinapahayag ang kanyang kalungkutan of being alone sa ibang bansa na hindi naman niya nakagisnan. So November 20 to 22, 1884, Rizal involved in student demonstration. Dr. Miguel Moraita declared that the freedom of science and teachers should be protected. This demonstration was thought to be supported by Recto until he was replaced by Dr. Cruz. So while in Madrid, the Filipinos, including Rizal, were having financial problems. However, they were inspired by the victory of Juan Luna's painting, which is Spolarium, and the Resurrection Hidalgo's painting, which is Christian virgins exposed to the populace. During Luna and Hidalgo's victory, Jose Rizal was invited to speak at on behalf of the Filipino community in Madrid's restaurant Ingles on the evening of June 25, 1884. So they won the National Exposition on Fine Art in Madrid. So Juan Luna won the first place for his Solarium and Felix Resurrection Hidalgo won second place for his Christian Virgin exposed to the populace.